Yes, everybody, welcome back to Talking Walls. Welcome back to a brand new update video on the channel. Hope you guys are keeping well and safe. And as you know, the 24-25 campaign is now over and all the focus will be on recruitment before the players are returned for pre-season, more than likely in the early part of July. So we've got sort of 5 or 6 weeks now before they're back, where we're going to more than likely get lots of rumours and lots of transfer gossip, and I'll be keeping you up to date as much as I can. Just a quick one today because it's going to be mental for the rest of the week on the channel. I think we've pretty much got videos coming out every day for the rest of this week, which is great. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the like button down below. Fantastic podcast with a special guest coming out tomorrow morning, so keep your eye out for that one as well. But let's kick off with the news. And over the weekend, we saw that pretty much there's going to be now, we're waiting for official confirmation of Matheus Cunha's move to Manchester United. It's pretty much done and confirmed. We had the here we go from Fabrizio Romano, and it sounds like Matheus Cunha will be joining Manchester United, expected to wear the number 10 shirt if anybody's bothered, and he's signing a 5-year contract at Old Trafford. Probably one of the worst kept secrets in football over the last few months or so. And one of the other things that has been a topic of discussion is the terms. Of course, Matheus has got a £62.5 million release clause that was inserted into his contract, which he signed towards the end of January. Traditionally, release clauses have been you pay it all up front, but that's not so much the case, especially in this case now. It's expected that Wolves are going to be receiving the £62.5 million in 3 different instalments, which will be paid by the end of, not the season coming up, the following season, the end of the 26-27 campaign. So Wolves will be receiving just under £21 million this summer, with the second instalment due at the end of the 25-26 season in around 12 months' time, and then the final instalment due around 12 months after that as well. So in terms of PSR and financial fair play, the £62.5 million will come off that. So it will give Wolves a lot of flexibility to spend money. Before I move on as well, we've just had news as I was recording this video from David Ornstein over at The Athletic that Manchester United have finally made official contact with Wolves for the potential signing of Matheus Cunha, but want to pay over 5 years rather than the 2 years that I've just suggested there, which is in the release clause contract. Wolves are still, of course, expecting the terms to be paid across 2 years, and I'm sure they won't be bending over backwards to help Manchester United this time around. This is all business. Like, for me, really, there's no pros and cons to this. Wolves and Fosun will more than likely take out loans to back this this amount up. So Wolves, I think, are still going to probably have a good amount of money to spend if needs be in the summer, especially when this transfer does go through. But a big hole to fill in the Wolves squad to replace the impact, the goals and the assists that Matheus Cunha has had on this team this season. But like I said, we're just waiting now for an official confirmation. Now, another big exit that we may well see, and a player that I know Wolves were unsure on his future, was Ryan Ait-Nouri. Now, again, Fabrizio Romano on Monday morning posted that Manchester City have reportedly inquired with Wolves to find out what terms of the deal, or what terms there would be if they wanted to broker a deal this summer for the wing-back. Of course, just a couple of weeks ago, we spoke about how Wolves ideally wanted to be giving Ryan Ait-Nouri a new deal at the club. Vitor Pereira is a big fan of Ait-Nouri and hopefully wants to keep him. We saw his output this year is improved a lot. I think there's still room for improvement as well. And you think he's still such a young player, but got so much Premier League experience. You know, he's going to continue improving over the next few years. But Manchester City and Pep Guardiola are looking to maybe bolster their left-hand side, and Ait-Nouri is a player that they are looking at. Be interesting. Obviously, Wolves will have to pay the clause in the contract to Angers, which is going to be just under £10 million. So we have to consider that. No valuations really are out there at the moment, but I think Wolves are going to be demanding probably 40, if not closer to £50 million for Ait-Nouri when you take into account the 10 million that we have to pay to Angers. So this will be an interesting transfer, an interesting saga. I think one way or another, we may not know or be any clearer on this within the next few weeks or so, because I don't think he'll sign a new deal until he returns to pre-season. So this may be something that drags out until early July unless City sort of, go for it earlier than that. But of course, Hugo Bueno coming back, do Wolves see him as an immediate replacement? I'm not sure. But yeah, Ait-Nouri to City at the moment may well have some legs. It'll be interesting to see what Wolves are quoting for any potential sale of him. And Nelson Semedo, of course, the contract situation surrounding him as well is interesting. He seemed a little bit upset after the game, but it sounds like he still hasn't made his mind up on where he wants to be next season. As I discussed last week, towards the end of last week on the channel, there is a 4-year contract on the table for Nelson Semedo. Still, if he signs that, will be one of the highest earners. I don't know it for sure, but I really think not many clubs in Europe will be able to match the terms that Wolves are offering Nelson Semedo in terms of salary, in terms of contract length for a 31-year-old. Like I said on my video last time, I honestly think only clubs in Saudi Arabia would be able to come close to rivaling what Wolves are offering Nelson. It's obvious that there's some sort of interest and probably a contract on the table from Benfica, but the terms won't be as strong as what Wolves are offering. However, he will be back in his homeland. He will be playing European football. He will be challenging for titles. So that's something really he's got to weigh up. So he put on his Instagram page yesterday that it's for him. It's time to rest, think, and take a big decision with his family. So it sounds like to me that that decision has not yet been made. And again, over the next few weeks, hopefully we get a little bit more clarity on his situation. In regards to other contract news, we haven't seen Wolves' official retained list as of yet, but you would assume Craig Dawson's going to move on. Pablo Sarabia, there's not been much news, and he looked pretty upset towards the end of the game as well on Sunday, so I assume those two will move on. And of course, in regards to youth players and so on, we'll wait and see who does move on from that point as well. Two players that have been linked with maybe coming to Wolves. Another one with a slight spanner in the works is Yuri Alberto, the Corinthians forward. Again, I think I discussed him on the last transfer video. The Brazilian forward who had been linked with Wolves previously. We came close to signing him under Gary O'Neill. And it looked like he may well have been a player that Wolves looked to pursue again this summer. However, he has got an injury. He got a quite bad injury to his back. So he's going to be out for the majority of the summer, I think, or at least going into the early part of pre-season. So that may throw a spanner in the works. But again, it's just unsure on the player's future. There was some articles suggesting that he wanted to stay in Brazil for now. Their season normally runs sort of from the start of the year to the end of the year. So obviously, their season ends in around November, December. So it may be something we'll have to revisit in January. But obviously, you want your players and your team to be as ready as you can. And the players that you want to pursue, you want them in for the summer. But for me, Yuri Alberto, now there is a question mark over that move. And the final player linked was the FC Nuremberg midfielder Casper Yander, 22 years of age, German midfielder. Had a really productive season in the second division of Germany in the Schweiz Bundesliga. A number of clubs also said to be in the mix. There was a article with the Nuremberg sporting director who had admitted that they were expecting big interest in the player, but it would have to meet their valuation. He hadn't quoted any figures, but again, the expected valuation, according to Bild over in Germany, is around the £20 million mark. Will we see Wolves go for that in a position where we may not necessarily need players? I don't know. But this interest for me is more, or the article at least, is probably piggybacking off interest from a few months ago. There was an article linking Wolves with Casper Yander about 2 or 3 months ago, and I think Sport Bild, alongside the quotes of the sporting director, sort of piggybacked off this interest. There are a few clubs, I think Brentford are another club interested, another couple of clubs in Germany interested as well. So there may well be interest there, but it may be a historic interest and it's maybe nothing so recent. So again, we'll keep our eye on that one. But we're hoping that we see some solid links. Wolves got a couple of pieces of business done quite early last time out, and hopefully we can see that again and things moving quite quickly, especially throughout the start of June as well. As always, guys, be sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe to the channel. Like I said, lots of content coming up. We've got the podcast out. We've got part 2 of the recruitment plan with Gully, Joe and Dan. And we'll have the very special Sell, Loan, Keep series that we do annually as well, coming out over the weekend as well. So hopefully you keep your eyes out for that. Appreciate your support always. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll catch you on the next one.